In the 24th chapter of Matthew, Jesus foretells certain events leading up to his second coming. He mentions one of the themes of his second coming in this chapter when he said, "But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came, and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be." Here Jesus is clearly describing the blindness of the non-believers on Noah's day and foretelling that in the days of his second coming the attitude of the non-believers will be the same. In addition to this obvious meaning of the Messiah's words, is it possible that we could see other similarities between the days of Noah and the last days when Christ returns? Is it possible that the trending extraterrestrial activity of our day is actually part of the prophesied similarity to the days of Noah? To examine this question thoroughly, we first need to understand the modern trend of UFO, UAP, and extraterrestrial activity disclosures. The modern era of UFO sightings began in the United States in 1947. When pilot Kenneth Arnold reported seeing 9 flying saucers flying near Mount Rainier in Washington state. Arnold's description of the objects as being disc-shaped quickly captured the public's imagination, and soon there were reports of UFOs being seen all over the country. In response to the growing public interest in UFOs, the U.S. Air Force launched Project Blue Book in 1948. Project Blue Book was tasked with investigating all reports of unidentified flying objects. Over the next 20 years, Project Blue Book investigated over 12,000 UFO reports, but concluded that none of them could be explained as alien spacecraft. The 1950s saw a peak in UFO sightings in the United States. This was likely due to a number of factors, including the Cold War, the rise of the jet age, and the growing popularity of science fiction. In 1952, there were a series of high-profile UFO sightings in Washington, D.C., which led to the formation of the Robertson Panel, a group of scientists and government officials who were tasked with investigating the phenomenon. The Robertson Panel concluded that there was no evidence to suggest that UFOs were alien spacecraft, but they did acknowledge that some of the sightings were unexplained. The number of UFO sightings declined in the 1960s, but there were still a number of high-profile cases, such as the Betty and Barney Hill abduction in 1961 and the Lonnie Zamora incident in 1964. In 1969, Project Blue Book was closed down, and the U.S. Air Force declared that there was no evidence to suggest that UFOs were alien spacecraft. The 1970s and 1980s saw a resurgence in interest in UFOs, with the number of books and movies being released on the subject. However, there were no major UFO sightings disclosed during this period. In the 2000s, there has been a renewed interest in UFOs, with the number of high-profile sightings, such as the Nimitz encounter in 2004 and the Go Fast video in 2015. In 2020, the Pentagon released 3 videos of UFOs that had been captured by U.S. Navy pilots. The release of these videos sparked a new wave of public interest in UFOs and led to the formation of the U.S. Senate Intelligence Committee's UFO Task Force. The recent disclosures from the Pentagon have further fueled public interest in UFOs. In June 2021, the Pentagon released a report on UFOs that acknowledged that there were a number of unexplained sightings, but that the government did not have enough evidence to determine whether or not they were alien spacecraft. The report also stated that the government was taking the issue of UFOs seriously and was committed to investigating them further. The history of UFO activity in the United States is a long and complex one. There have been many high-profile sightings over the years, and there is still mounting public interest in the subject, but are extraterrestrial encounters with UFOs and UAPs a new phenomenon? Well, actually in the Old Testament we see several examples of what we would today call extraterrestrial activities. In the Bible, after the Israelites escaped from Egypt, they wandered through the wilderness for many years. During this time, they were guided by a pillar of cloud and fire. The pillar of cloud would lead them during the day, and the pillar of fire would lead them at night. In the context of modern-day extraterrestrial activities, some people believe that the pillar of cloud and fire could have been an alien spacecraft. They point to the fact that the pillar of cloud and fire was able to move through the air and that it was visible both day and night. Others believe that the pillar of cloud and fire was simply a miracle from God. The meaning of the pillar of cloud and fire is somewhat up for interpretation. However, the fact that it is mentioned in the Bible suggests that the ancient Israelites believed that God was with them and that He was guiding them through the wilderness. Additionally, in the Bible, seraphim and cherubim are winged creatures that are often depicted as guarding the throne of God. They are described as being very beautiful and powerful. In the context of modern-day extraterrestrial activities, some people believe that cherubim could be alien beings. They point to the fact that cherubim are often described as being winged and that they are said to be very powerful. Others believe that cherubim are simply a metaphor for God's power and majesty, which finally brings us to the days of Noah. For this period of time we refer to the Book of Enoch, who was Noah's great-grandfather. The Book of Enoch is an ancient religious text that was written around 300 BC. It tells the story of Enoch, a righteous patriarch who was taken up to heaven by God. In the Book of Enoch, there are several references to extraterrestrial beings. These beings are called watchers or holy ones, and they are said to have come to earth from the heavens. The watchers are said to have taught humans forbidden knowledge, including astronomy, astrology, and warfare. They are also said to have had sexual relations with human women, which resulted in the birth of the Nephilim, a race of giants. The watchers are said to have been punished by God for their transgressions. They were bound in chains and cast into the abyss. The Book of Enoch predicts the coming of the Savior who will defeat the watchers and their offspring. The Savior will be resurrected from the dead and will lead humanity into a new age of peace and prosperity. The Book of Enoch is a complex and controversial text. Some scholars believe that it is a literal account of events that happened in the past. Others believe that it is a work of fiction, or that it is a symbolic representation of spiritual truths. Regardless of how it is interpreted, the Book of Enoch is a fascinating and thought-provoking text. It provides a glimpse into the beliefs of ancient people about the nature of extraterrestrial beings and their interactions with the human beings leading up to and in the day of Noah. The same days Jesus Christ prophesied will archetypally return before His glorious second coming. So, what do you think? Is the trend of UFOs, UAPs, and extraterrestrial activity disclosures a similarity between our day and the days of Noah? And if so, what does this mean about the days we are living in and our need for constant preparation for the return of Christ? Or is this trend something entirely different altogether? To hear more, as always, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe.